Dragon level monsters are considered to be the strongest monsters in the series, with the exception of the god level threat category that should only be theoretical since it was never said or implied that a god level threat has ever appeared, which is only a possibility based on rumors and speculations, not something entirely confirmed. With this, the dragons mostly are what the world is afraid of. These monsters are considered to be a threat to multiple cities and can even give the strongest heroes a run for their money. So in this video, we are going to rank every single dragon level monster from weakest to strongest. However, before we start this video, it's very important to note a few details that must be taken in consideration before scaling these characters. The first one being that matchups matter in One Punch Man. This was highlighted by Phoenix Man in chapter 84, where he states that even though Silver Fang is remarkably strong, he can only exert his martial arts potential against opponents of a similar size. Gero Gero also takes full advantage of this by choosing good matchups for cadres to easily defeat the heroes, with Atomic Samurai vs Black Ass serving as a clear proof for Phoenix Man's statement. Reasons this is very important is because there are a lot of factors that could play a major role in a fight. Either a character is too durable, too fast, heals in a quick rate, has a great damage potency, too big, or possesses a certain ability or hacks that would counter specific characters. So if character A is placed above someone he may not have the ability to defeat, which is character B, it would only be because A can generally win against a lot of characters that B would struggle with. Second thing, this list would only be composed of confirmed dragon level monsters either by the author, the manga, or by the data book. So characters like Ocean Natural Water, Garu, Evil Eye, Sage Centipede, and potentially maybe Monster Haragiri would not be included in this video. And last thing I want to say before starting, since as I stated before that matchups matter, this list can change drastically in the future. It's very important to know that I'm not claiming that this list is 100% factual. I'll only be providing my reasoning behind every selection and try to explain with the best of my abilities. Most characters here are very ambiguous, so if you have a list that is different than mine, it's totally fine. So with that being said, let's just get on with the video. Now, starting off this list with characters that I personally believe they cannot be ranked or quantified. These characters are Kinsin Rats, Pluton, and Withersprout, nothing to scale them from due to how fast they got defeated by either a much superior force or Saitama. The giant meteor also confirmed to destroy City Z and damage nearby cities is very weird to place, since if you take the definition of the dragon level threats, this should be placed very high on this list, but given it's not a creature and basically is just a large rock that would serve its purpose for one single time, I can't really place it against combatants who by the very least can run from it. Yes, I know, this meteor should be placed below someone like Goketsu, since Genos thinks that that monster is the same tier as Saitama who destroyed that meteor, alongside with Genos' Incinerate shifting Psycho Orochi's beam that was stated capable of destroying a large meteor. But as I said, I can't really place it against conscious combatants. With that being said, starting off this list in D tier at number 28 and 27, we've got the Forest King and Bakuzan. The Forest King was literally one-shotted by Lightning Court Genos, and Bakuzan was humiliated by a fellow dragon level monster. Although these two characters can be placed higher than this, since the former, being a tree, is supposed to be weak to someone who can produce that much firepower, and the latter was humbled by a monster that can arguably replicate that same feat against many others. So these two are basically unquantifiable, and putting them at any place in the low tier should be fine. At number 26, we've got Gums. Gums in terms of cadre placement should be the weakest for the lack of any concrete showings. The best he really could do is hold off Big God, fail to bite Tank Top Master, and got heavily damaged by Ugly Führer's redirected punch. So other than that, he hasn't shown anything remarkable that should place him above the the next characters. At number 25, we've got Neon. Neon is generally placed above Gums for performing slightly better against better opponents. He managed to place Puri Puri and damage Drive Knight in his bishop state. Drive Knight also states that without prep time, he would never have landed a death blow. He also possesses versatile abilities that allows him to defend himself or inflict unpredictable attacks, in contrast to Gums, who can only rely on his biting and pushing strength. His feline retribution kinda forced Drive Knight to use his gold state to defend against it. So in a general sense, I feel like Neon should be slightly or much stronger than Gums, but for the time being, he should be placed right here. At number 24, we've got the strongest in the low tier in my opinion, which should be Ugly Fuhrer. Ugly Fuhrer has been stated to get stronger the more pathetic he feels. This is very relevant because Gums was heavily damaged by Ugly Fuhrer's redirected punch, as I said before, in contrast to amped Ugly Fuhrer, who should have felt more pathetic when fighting against Silver Fang, tanking his own redirected punch in the face, but wasn't as heavily damaged as Gums. However, you can't really know for sure if he really scales above Neon, since these two characters are pretty much unquantifiable. Now, passing on to the C tier, at number 23, we've got Evil Natural Water. Admittedly, this character is pretty weird in terms of scaling, since he doesn't really do much aside from pushing Darkshine a few meters away. However, he gets reacted to by characters like Base Child Emperor, Iain, and Atomic Samurai. The only reason he is placed here is only because of his potential and how difficult it is to kill him, although Darkshine managed to shatter him in a single punch, and Garu later on managed to do the same thing with multiple kicks against a stronger version of his that we'd be ranking later in this video, meaning multiple powerful and fast hits by strong opponents would be able to do the job. So if you think that Ugly Fuhrer was amped enough at that time to accomplish that task, it should still be fine. Now at number 22, 21, and 20, we've got the Dark Matter Thieves Commanders, Melzigard, Kiryu Gunshoop, and Groribas. Bro, it was too hard. You see, Melzigard being able to stall 4 S-class heroes is very impressive, yes, but his damage output and his physical strength are probably just too low. I mean, he was slashed by Iain and Atomic Samurai easily, and post Deep Sea King Puri Puri managed to put a hole in him. Silver Fang also took a full head-on attack and treated it as a morning stretch for his shoulders. The only thing that made him stall them in this fight was his regen ability. Think about it this way, if someone like Metal Bat, not that bright of a guy, was able to figure out your weakness, I reckon many would be able to do the same thing. Kiryu Gunshoop should be on the same tier but got defeated by Saitama, so we probably wouldn't really know for sure who is the strongest between these two. Changing their placements shouldn't create any problems. In addition to that, I'm aware that there also exists a statement from Murata saying that Kiryu Gunshoop is the greatest psychic in the universe after all, meaning to a lot of people he should be stronger than Tatsumaki, right? Wrong. Murata actually was being sarcastic in that comment, and the biggest proof is his statement of Orochi being able to defeat all of them with relative ease. Tatsumaki obviously scales even above Orochi himself, meaning she would be able to clear all of them together with no difficulties. Groribas on the other hand is featless and got quickly destroyed by Saitama, but Kiryu Gunshoop stated he is the strongest warrior or best combatant. Pretty self-explanatory why he is placed above all of them. Now, before going to the next tier, I want to preference that I wouldn't have a problem if either Evil Natural Water or Ugly Fuhrer could be placed higher than the Dark Matter Thieves. I just feel like Kiryu Gunshoop can throw rebels at Evil Natural Water in super speed that should be able to do the job, and Melzigard's regen abilities should allow him to contend with Evil Natural Water and Ugly Fuhrer. Now passing on to B tier, which should be where the controversy starts, since these characters can defeat each other based on the circumstances they are presented with and how they match up against each other. We start with number 19 and 18, we've got Black S and Vomited Fuhrer Ugly. I would say that these two characters are very interchangeable, as I would argue both can defeat each other. However, the reason Ugly Fuhrer gets this considerable amp is because, as I said before, the more pathetic he feels, the stronger he gets. Not only was he humiliated by Silver Fang, verbally and physically, he was also beaten by Gums, ridiculed by other heroes, and made fun by Black S. These infuriating, miserable actions led him to power up significantly to the point of reacting and matching with Darkshine's attack potency. However, unlike what a lot of people think, matching up with Darkshine in one exchange doesn't necessarily mean he would eventually have defeated him. Darkshine is known for exchanging blows for a long period of time and still come up on top. The only reason he lost is because of Acid, which in this case, as I said before, is a very bad matchup. However, Ugly Fury would be able to destroy Evil Natural Water the same way Darkshine did, as the latter didn't really use a strong attack to accomplish that feat. He would also be able to cripple the Dark Matter Thieves since, as I said, they generally lack in damage output, durability, and physical strength. Black Ass, on the other hand, literally embodies the definition of the dragon level threat. He can overwhelm S-class tier characters, envelop cities with his clones, and is very unpredictable and intelligent. The reason people don't really give him his dues is because he gets reacted to and killed by characters like Aeon and Sprint Mustachio. He also clearly states that Darkshine is someone he can never defeat if he doesn't perform a complete merge, which is obviously transforming into his golden state. And for this specific reason, a lot of people think that Vomited Fury Ugly should be above Black S, since the former matched with Darkshine in strength. However, Vomited Fury Ugly's durability shouldn't scale to Darkshine's, as even Darkshine himself stated he doesn't even know how to harm himself. In addition to that, Black S also suggested they need to merge for Darkshine, otherwise they could never defeat him, but had a different plan to defeat Vomited Fury Ugly without needing to transform, since Vomited needs to replenish, giving Black S the time to cut off his nourishment. However, this is a double-edged sword, since Vomited would also have an endless stock of fuel, since Black S is literally his source of energy. So as I said before, this could go either way, but I believe Black S, with his overwhelming numbers and his busted reaction speed, would eventually be able to come up on top. There also exists a crazy statement from Morata saying that even if Orochi transforms, Black S would still not be afraid due to his overwhelming numbers. But as I said, at the end of the day, characters on this tier are very interchangeable and matchup dependent, and things can go either way. Now at number 17, we've got Evolved Evil Natural Water. So this character right here, I kid you not, unlike the webcomics, has just one feat. A very impressive feat though. He was able to instinctively react to King's wave motion almost monster form Garu's attack. Granted, Garu was obviously not going all out in terms of speed. However, other characters couldn't even perceive what happened in that instant. One other reason he is this high is because I admit that I simply cannot see how any character below him can defeat him. However, one other way to downgrade his speed is the fact that all the characters Garu blissed were either caught off guard or in the middle of something. Platinum S should be able to react to Garu, but was simply too focused against the Juggernaut King. Vomited Fury Ugly was in the middle of trying to kill Silver Fang, not aware there is literally someone behind him trying to kill him. And Bomb was seemingly also able to react to Garu. So if you believe characters such as Black S and Vomited Fury Ugly would be able to defeat it, I wouldn't really argue with it, but I feel like this should be his proper placement. At number 16, we've got Homeless Emperor, the least looking monster on this list. So Homeless Emperor, in my opinion, is pretty self-explanatory. He has the infinite firepower to get rid of Black S and Evil Natural Water, and already showcased his clear supremacy over Vomited Fury Ugly. The only problem he has is his human being type of durability. He is obviously a glass cannon, and even someone like Moomin Rider can compete in the durability department. But strictly speaking, his tendencies of always trying to sorta have fun can be his downfall. He is literally always holding back. Against Tatsumaki, he wasn't even looking at her, just imagining a symphony while he creates a bunch of orbs. Against Zombie Man, he was literally taunting him the whole time and admitted he was holding back. Against Vomited, he didn't wanna murder him, just wanted to show his clear supremacy over him. And against Ion and Mustachio, he literally chose to rain his orbs down instead of aiming them head-on with considerable speed, just like he did to Vomited. So he obviously controls how much power he uses against all of his opponents and and chooses to enjoy the process without killing them instantly, as that quote-unquote would not be boring for him. However, Homeless Emperor is still very weird. Due to his significant weakness, he can still be defeated by Black S if he sneaks clones under the ground, or even Neon, who can move through small cracks. But in an overall tier, he should be placed above all these monsters due to how infinitely destructive he is. Now, at number 15, we've got Vaccine Man. You see, this is completely based on my headcanon, and it seems that the majority of our community agrees that Vaccine Man should be just like Homeless Emperor, but without his glass cannon weakness. The reason we think this is because Murata himself stated that Homeless Emperor, Chose, and Vaccine Man possesses the same kind of light orbs energy. Chose obviously has access to a much conservative ability, as he needed to charge so hard to produce one single attack. But conversely, Vaccine Man, same as Homeless Emperor, seems to have the ability to produce it infinitely. However, Vaccine Man on paper should be much more impressive, as not only is he physically strong, but it was also stated that he is the largest and most dangerous monster ever recorded in City A. The Hero Association executives ordered to summon multiple heroes from Class A and B just to buy time before contacting either Metal Knight or Tornado of Terror Tatsumaki. And this is only after witnessing what he can do in his base state. In addition to that, he should have an answer to all the monsters that are below him on this list. For Black Ass, Evil Natural Water, and Vomited Fury Ugly, he can simply fly in the sky and decimate them with his energy spheres infinitely. Now, at number 14, we've got Maruguri, aka Beefcake. I know this placement is kinda weird, but hear me out. Between him and Vaccine Man, I would say both of them can be interchangeable. Vaccine Man can fly in the sky and do as he pleases, and Beefcake can literally slap the wind and delete a whole city. So between him and Vaccine Man, this ranking is literally based on my headcanon, as we don't really have enough data to completely quantify both of them. And yeah, I know Maruguri is considered to be a demon, but as one stated, if Saitama wasn't there, his disaster level would have been upgraded to Dragon. He's also 10 times bigger than Orochi, meaning he will just start jogging and the vast majority of Black Ass clones will die. Putting a hole in the city is such a big feat that should outscale a lot of people's attack potencies. However, for the time being, this is his placement in my ranking list. At number 13, we've got Carnage Kabuto. So hear me out. This is completely based on the databook statements saying that on a physical level, he should be at an incomparably higher stage than other monsters so far. Now, there are two interpretations to this statement. It's either talking about all the monsters we've seen in this series so far, which would substantiate his placement over both Vaccine Man and Maruguri, or maybe this statement is only regarding the House of Evolution monsters. I personally tend to lean towards the former for this specific, admittedly weak reason. Dr. Genus and Fukagayo, whatever, right? These are very smart scientists that created very strong monsters, but in my opinion, Dr. Genus should be much better and well versed in evolution science. I mean, he is literally the first character that explained the whole power system of One Punch Man and why Saitama is this strong. He also should have more knowledge, as he lived for too long, seeing that he had access to outside informations on the very first dragon level monsters such as Vaccine Man and Maruguri, so him believing that Carnage Kabuto is someone that cannot be defeated holds much more weight. Carnage Kabuto is weirdly also considered to be a smart monster, holds very high instinctive senses, as he was the first monster who knew that Saitama is not a joke. However, people like to downplay him due to his defeat against Darkshine in the audiobook. First of all, well, there are merits behind using the VGS in terms of power scaling, obviously, but Geonos's data should be very questionable, as not only did he never fight Carnage Kabuto, but when he observed Saitama one-shotting him, the data behind how strong Carnage Mode Kabuto should be next to impossible for Genos to quantify. But even if we say the VGS doesn't have any problems and should be taken to be 100% facts, it still took Darkshine 15 minutes straight to defeat Kabuto. This means that Darkshine is blatantly stronger than Vaccine Man and Maruguri. Yes, please stop the downplay on Darkshine. Just because he lost to Garu Garu and got his spirit broken by acid and ultimately got one-shotted by Golden S doesn't mean that Darkshine is a fodder. But on the other hand, his durability is much stronger than his attack potency, which means that he can tank his own attacks. So being able to fight him for 15 minutes straight is actually an incredible feat. Now for number 12, this is going to be a very controversial take, and I'm sure a lot of people would disagree with me on this one. So we've got both Gale Wind and Hellfire Flame. Now hear me out, it's very important to understand that these two characters are dragons individually. Just them being able to be relative to a holding back Flashy Flash is a feat that outclasses most characters in terms of speed. Even Flash himself has stated that they would have given the S-class heroes troubles due to their superior speed. Both of them managed to hurt Flashy Flash at least enough to make him cough up blood. So I'll walk you out through my process of thinking. Now imagine with me these characters with their superior crazy speed against others that we mentioned so far. They either straight up defeat them or by the very least stalemate them, with possibly the only character reacting to them is Evolved Evil Natural Water. So if we count coughing up blood as damage, they'd be able to hurt most characters below this level. Vomited Fury Ugly would not be a problem since Garu wasn't affected by his acid due to how fast that kick was. Black Ass would overwhelm them in numbers, but they should still be able to stalemate him. Homeless Emperor would be very susceptible to their speed, and they could eventually decapitate him. Some people scale these characters to be way below this level based on their interpretation, but being able to be relative and slightly damaging Flashy Flash is a crazy feat for me. So it's very understandable if you want to put them here or marginally below this placement. Now passing on to the A tier, at number 11 we've got Phoenix Man. So Phoenix Man is one of the most underrated monsters in the series. I mean, I don't know why people think he is a mid-dragon when he can eventually become the strongest in this list. His ability to resurrect and become stronger each time he dies, alongside resurrecting other dead monsters, is something so cracked that with time should raise him to levels beyond even this placement. You see, he was able to fight against Brave Giant. Child Empress specifically stated 2 times that it was his trump card against the Monster King Orochi. Oh shit, sorry. Wild Emperor is a very smart and calculating character that would obviously take into account how strong Orochi is compared to other dragon level monsters. And yet, Phoenix Man, not only did he fight him and should have won if Saitama didn't interfere, but also would have gotten even stronger if he revived other cadres and controlled them. You can even place him to be way higher than this if you interpret his statement of being the strongest being there is as valid, since he has already seen what Elder Centipede can do and probably has additional data on the cadres presented to him by Gero. So bottom line, if you want to place him higher than a character like Elder Centipede, this still should be fine. Now cracking the top 10, we start with the big 3 in the Monster Association executives: Elder Centipede, Goketsu, and Rover. These 3 characters are very controversial, with Goketsu being the most ambiguous when it comes to properly scaling him. Narratively speaking, Goketsu is implied to be a monster far stronger than any we've seen before, besides obviously Boros, since his power was described by Suiryu to be against the rules, and even Genos thought that his strength resembles that of Saitama's, also saying that he has never met a monster as strong as him, which means he clearly puts him above the Meteor Saitama Punch and Carnage Kabuto. The other statement of gathering the S-class heroes with Saitama to have a chance against him is very irrelevant because it's simply just not true. Gero also specifically tells Goketsu that he would have a hard time if he fights against multiple S-class heroes, and she was visibly shocked that someone could eventually defeat him and couldn't think of anyone who could have done this. You see, the reason I think this statement holds weight is because when both of them got taken down, Gero was under the impression that the Hero Association possesses a trump card even above the S-class heroes. For Elder Centipede, she already knows there are 4 characters that can certainly defeat him, so why would she include the possibility of the Hero Association having an ace that is even above the S-class heroes? But think about it this way, when Goketsu is defeated, she didn't think, oh, maybe King, Metal Knight, Tatsumaki or Blast defeated him. Granted, you can exclude Tatsumaki since Giru may have prior data of her whereabouts, but instead, she started thinking this way, that the Hero Association had someone who is above even the S-class heroes, simply because, as her statement suggests, she doesn't think even King can defeat Goketsu, which places Elder Centipede at number 10, Goketsu at 9, and Rover at 8. Now, in regards of Elder Centipede and Rover, and which one should be the strongest between the two, a lot of people uses their fights against Bang and Bomb as a comparison, and say that Rover should be weaker since the two martial artists didn't seem as worried as they were against Elder Centipede. Well, if you look at it from a narrative perspective, as Phoenix Man mentioned, matchups matter in the One Punch Man series. The only reason Elder Centipede was such a problem and only 4 heroes can defeat him is due to his enormous size and quick regen ability. Silver Fang and Bomb, at the end of the day, are designed to fight humanoid opponents, or maybe say monsters that doesn't exceed a certain size. But unlike EC, Rover is a monster they can deal with if they go all out. The other reason they were so concerned is because against Elder Centipede, the city and its citizen, alongside a bunch of other heroes, were in danger, in contrast to Rover, where they have the time to think of other strategies and explore other options. So bottom line, the reason they couldn't defeat him is simply due to him being a bad matchup for them. Doesn't necessarily mean Elder Centipede scales to the Garu who eventually fought Bang. But you see, the reason I think Rover should be scaled higher than Elder Centipede is because Murata stated that the attack Bang and Bomb used against EC is weaker than the attack they used against Rover, even though the former seems stronger than the latter. Since Murata stated it, I wouldn't really argue with it. So simply put, Elder Centipede needed to regenerate from it, and Rover was totally unaffected from a stronger attack even though he was injured and not in his full strength. This is substantiated by Rover tanking Saitama's punch that Orochi himself described as being a tremendous shock. Orochi himself also concluded that Saitama, being the one who defeated both Goketsu and Elder Centipede, made sense after confirming that he is the source behind that shockwave. This attack was capable of shaking the entire Monster Association headquarters and gathering the attention of most heroes and monsters in the area. Yes, there are problems with Rover as he was reacted to by early Garu and even tanked some of his hits, but I feel like Garu before dying gained fire and heat resistance as stated by Giru later on. Also, Rover was just playing around and seemingly throwing energy balls at the random aim. So at the end of the day, in my estimation, Rover should be stronger than Goketsu, who is stronger than EC. But if you want to switch placements between Rover and Goketsu, it's also totally fine, and it depends on which interpretation you wanna go with. Now at number 7 and 6, we've got Giru and Psychos. You see, Giru believes that she can take down Tatsumaki, who can take down Elder Centipede. Therefore, she obviously has knowledge of how strong EC is, and she comfortably thinks she can defeat him. But admittedly, the problem I have with this placement is that being stronger than Elder Centipede doesn't mean she should be stronger than Rover or Goketsu. Although when she was defeated, it was implied that the only remaining monster to defeat Tatsumaki would be Orochi, as he is clearly stronger than she is, and the other executives such as Rover would at best only serve as a distraction, nothing more, nothing less. But if you feel like Rover should be above Giru or it's the other way around, it still should probably be fine. However, Psychos should be leagues above her previous state, as she says that Giru was literally nothing. Even though she was eventually defeated, since this is Tatsumaki we're talking about, she still performed much better than before. And being able to stay on your feet for a considerable time against a monster like Tatsumaki is very impressive. Now, cracking the top 5 strongest dragon level monsters, we start this list with Golden S. Well, I get it, other than the plot build-up, there isn't any feat that should place him above the big 3 Cadres, Goketsu, Rover, and Elder Centipede since he is very weird to scale. Sure, Sunblade Atomic Samurai cut off his hand, but we don't concretely know how strong the Sunblade is. He also certainly one-shotted a scared Darkshine and dominated Führer Ugly, but the ceiling of his true power is never really shown. So since he's unquantifiable in my opinion, based on the implications of being one of the strongest monsters in the series, I chose to place him right in this position, since I don't really think he is far away from Platinum S's strength, who is next in this list. So at the end of the day, I'll be fine if you think he should be placed way below. Number 4 is obviously Platinum S due to the clear supremacy of speed over all the dragon level monsters. Other than the top tiers of the whole verse, his level of speed has never been showcased or replicated by any character in this whole list other than the obvious elephant in the room. He's also physically extremely durable as he was able to take hits from Flashy Flash, Garu's punches, and the Godslayer fist. Platinum S was eventually defeated by Garu, but that's practically a Garu that can defeat the majority of characters in the series. One quick note before passing to number 3 and 2, I also think even though he is number 4, he would still be a tough opponent against number 3 and 2 due to him being significantly faster than them, which leads us to number 3 being the Monster King Orochi, who I think embodies the definition of being a dragon level monster much more than Platinum S could, since not only is he gigantic, but he's also considered to be a martial arts genius who possesses ridiculous levels of durability and great destructive capabilities, stated by both Kirokiro and Goketsu to being the strongest monster on Earth. In theory, he should be stronger than Platinum S, but due to the latter's clear supremacy of speed, it could go either way and eventually stalemate each other. Jumping to number 2, we've got Psycho Orochi, which is a fusion between Psychos and Orochi amped with powers from God. Thinks he became strong enough to defeat Saitama and implied in the story to being much stronger than before. But since Psychos is the one in control, she sadly heavily relies on her psychic abilities rather than Orochi's genius level of martial arts. But on a physical scale and how it's implied in the story, she should be much stronger than Orochi.
"やっぱ強えよ、お前."